Are you a Sith Lord or a Jedi Knight? That was the question faced by Anakin Skywalker in the third episode of the Star Wars saga. And it was a question he needed to answer at a major turning point in his life. He was in crisis, and he needed to decide if he was going to follow the Sith path of darkness and despair, or the Jedi route of hope and light. And much to the detriment of Anakin Skywalker, but to the great benefit of George Lucas and the Star Wars franchise, he chose the dark side and became one of the great cinematic villains, Darth Vader. But the question as to whether to follow the dark or the light is not a question limited to cinematic fiction, but a question that you and I are asked to answer in our own lives as well. Do you choose to be a child of the darkness or the light? Do you choose to be a Sith or a Jedi? In the first reading today from Isaiah, we hear him give us our call to action. Rise up in splendor, O Jerusalem. The light shines upon you. The glory of the Lord is over you. Yes, there are clouds and darkness over the earth, but the glory of God is on you. And nations shall walk by your light. That is the call of those who follow God. Today we celebrate the feast day of the Epiphany. It is the feast day in which the manifestation of Jesus' light is given to the whole world. Yes, the shepherds got the message when they saw the star and where the chorus of angels invited them to come to the manger in Bethlehem. But now the announcement has been made to the world. The Magi from the east come following the star, knowing that it portends that a new king has been born to rule over the Jews. Little did they know until they got there in joy to realize he was their king too. Their lives were changed by that visit. In fact, it is not coincidental that the gospel says they went home by another way. It was not just avoiding Herod, but their way had been changed. In fact, the entire world was transformed. But the question that we have on this Epiphany Sunday is, have we been transformed? Have we had our own personal epiphanies? Have we allowed the light of Jesus Christ to radically change our lives? What would that look like? What would it mean? Would it mean that if we've had our epiphany and our lives have been transformed, that no bad thing ever happens to us again? Well, certainly not. Bad things happen to the Holy Family. Bad things happen to many of those who walked with Jesus during his life on earth. But what it does mean is that when we are faced with trial and crisis, that we do not give in to the darkness and despair, that instead we follow the path of light. On Friday, my heart was broken, as was many of yours, by the most recent mass shooting just down the road in Fort Lauderdale, where 5 people lost their lives and many more were injured. You know, it seems like weekly, if not daily, we face another senseless act of violence and hate in our news cycle. And it would be so easy at that moment to be overcome by the darkness and despair and to believe hope was lost. But that's not what our call is. Our call in that moment is to not only hold on to the light, but to be instruments of the light, bringing that into the world. You see, when Anakin Skywalker was faced with his choice, what led him to the wrong choice, what led him to the path of darkness, to the dark side of the Force, was despair, was fear. You see, he had seen a vision that his young wife was going to die early, and he would do anything to save her. And he accepted the false promise of the dark lord that the only way to save her was by following the path of darkness. Ironically, then, it was exactly that path that made him the instrument of her death. If we follow the path of darkness and despair, that's what it results in. But if we hold on to the light, then we can bring the light back into the world. You know, the same day as that horrible tragedy on Friday, perhaps you didn't see these 5 news stories. A restaurant in Montreal who posted a new sign on their door that said, from that day forward, anyone who came to their restaurant who could not afford a meal would be given food for free. A man who had taken the day off to see the birth of his child and was fired for it received a flood of new job offers from others who had heard about it. A governor announced that free college tuition would now be offered by state universities to the middle class. In India, a group of police officers threw a birthday party for an 83-year-old man who lived alone because they had no one to care for him. And a new medical instrument was introduced that could be used at emergency scenes to quickly staunch the blood flow of people with large wounds from which they previously would have died. Even on the darkest of days, the light still shines. And this is our call. We have a choice to make to bring more dark into the world or to bring more light. What would it look like if we chose to bring the light? Well, the first thing it would look like is we would reject the darkness. We would reject the calls to vilify and disparage all of those who are not like us. We would open our arms in brotherhood and sisterhood to all children of God, no matter their race, their nation of origin, their religious beliefs, their immigrant status, their economic status. We would reject the call for more violence to solve problems at both the national and personal level, and instead truly embrace the dignity of all human life, including the baby in the womb, the person at the end of the life, and also the very lives of the poor, the immigrant, and yes, even our enemies. Rise up, O parishioners of most precious blood. The light shines upon you. The glory of the Lord is on you. Yes, there is darkness and clouds in the world today, but nations will walk by the radiance of your light. We have a choice to make. We have a choice to be children of the dark or children of the light. Do you choose to be a Sith Lord or a Jedi Knight?